Hello everybody, it's Non-C News here, and today we've got a lot of breaking updates today. So the first news is coming from the Russian city of Kazan, where we've got news of more discussions and the final Brics meeting that is happening. So I'll quickly just give us an update of the recent leaders that have arrived in the Russian city of Kazan for the last Brics meeting. So the president of the UAE has arrived for the Brics summit in Kazan. The Prime Minister of Vietnam has arrived. The President of Azerbaijan has arrived. The Erdogan, the President of Turkey, has also arrived, which I should add is a NATO nation. The President of Tajikistan has arrived. The Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko has arrived. The UN Secretary General has also attended the Brics summit in Kazan while actually declining an invitation to the first summit on peace organized by Ukraine, and the Prime Minister of Armenia has also arrived. So if you can see here in your bottom left corner, we can see the Brics family photo ahead of the final summit, the final day, the final meeting of Brics. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see all 36 countries on stage and representing their countries, and in the last frames you can actually see the President of Turkey, Erdogan, come in last, handshaking President Vladimir Putin and obviously Xi Jinping. So big news. So we'll just start off with the first statements that Putin started off with. So the summit started, and the main statements by Putin at the start was: Russia seeks to strengthen the authority of Brics in the world, focus on solving global and local problems. It would be wrong to ignore the unprecedented interests of countries of the global south and east in Brics expansion. The authority and influence of Brics on the global stage is high. Brics countries have enormous economic, scientific, demographic, and political potential. We've also got news that Putin also stated that those who use the dollar as a weapon make a great mistake. And later, Putin showcased the first banknote of the single Brics currency. So you can see here in your bottom left corner, Putin was seen and spotted showcasing the first Brics banknote, which was in great discussion during the Brics summit. So the Brics currency was talked about to obviously try and replace the dollar. So Putin showcased a banknote of the single Brics currency, the creation of which is planned and discussed by the countries that are part of the economic union. So maybe in the future we'll be seeing this banknote more often. But obviously, as the source stated, that this is a nightmare for Washington, London, and Brussels. So big news. Putin also discussed Western countries and the US during the Brics summit. So he stated that leading world's economies abused their position by printing money during COVID and causing global inflation. The West disregarded the principles of international law by funding Ukraine. There is no justice from the West in its approach towards Russia. On reports that Russia will wreak havoc on UK streets are completely nonsense, Putin stated. And Putin made numerous statements following the end of the Brics 2024 summit. So this is all of Putin's last statements on the final Brics summit. So he stated that the Russian army is moving towards forward in all areas of the combat contact. 2,000 Ukrainian military personnel are blocked in the Kursk region. The Russian army has begun to eliminate this group. Russia will cope with its problems on its own. Russia's security is the most important thing for me, so Putin. Brics is not a closed format. It is open to everyone who shares its value. At this first stage, we will agree on the list of Brics partner countries. It has already been agreed upon. The Brics countries have committed to building a more democratic and multipolar world order. Footage of North Korean soldiers in Russia is a serious thing. If there are pictures, they will reflect something there. I will not confirm or deny Western media reports, but the DPRK, so North Korea, is serious about implementing the treaty in terms of joint defense, Putin stated. Russia is ready to consider any options for peace agreements on Ukraine based on the realities of the ground. It's better to sit down at the negotiating table than to voice Ukraine's losses on the battlefield. And Ukraine's irretrievable and sanitary losses in the Kursk direction amounted to 26,000 people, Putin stated. So this was at the end of the Brics summit. He added some Ukraine news and some other news. And during the Brics summit, you can see here in the bottom left corner, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping were actively discussing something during the meeting. So we have no idea what they were actually talking about. I'm sure we'll probably get some lip readers to try and intercept the actual discussion they were making, but obviously just by I'll just say by Western leaders seeing this would cause some discomfort, I would add. So very big news. The Iranian president also talked at the Brics summit. He stated that he called for measures to combat the devastating effects of illegal sanctions, which hammer the global South's ability to tackle issues like climate change, the president of Iran stated. We've also gotten some statements coming from India's representative at the last Brics meeting. He stated that Brics is a statement of changing world order, battling old injustices that manifest in new ways. We've also gotten some statements coming from Xi Jinping. He stated that China is ready to expand cooperation with Brics countries, including in resource development. He also stated that it is necessary to take into account the opinions of Global South countries, and the escalation of the conflict in Ukraine and provocations must not be allowed. And the last statement is that Brics should act as a defenders of the collective security. So, big news. We've also got news that Vladimir Putin and the leader of Venezuela had some sideline meetings. The Venezuelan leader stated that it supports Russia in the context of its hybrid war launched against it. Nicolas Maduro, the leader of Venezuela, also stated that Russia and Venezuela strive to form a new world order without neo-colonial approaches. It is important for Russia and Venezuela to establish relations in the financial and banking spheres based on national currencies. Venezuela is one of Russia's historical partners in Latin America, with many projects being implemented in energy and other areas. Russia supports Venezuela's desire to join the work of Brics. Venezuela is close to the values and principles on which Brics work is based. Relations between Russia and Venezuela continue to strengthen. So this was stated by both Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro and Vladimir Putin, the president of the Russian Federation. We've also gotten some news of some sideline meetings between Vladimir Putin and the president of Turkey, Erdogan, which is again, I'll state, a NATO nation. So the key statements on this meeting is that Russia's and Turkey's position on the Middle East settlements are very close, stated both Erdogan and Putin. Putin stated that Russia is a reliable supplier of natural gas to Turkey, with 20.5 billion cubic meters of gas supplied in 2023. The development of the initiative to create a gas hub in Turkey continues. The economic cooperation between Russia and Turkey is developing dynamically, with trade growing by at least 6% in the last 8 months. Putin will discuss with Erdogan ways to enhance trade and economic cooperation between Russia and Turkey, which are developing very dynamically, stated Putin. Putin is also aware of Turkey's interest in cooperation with Brics and sees prospects in this area. Putin calls relations with Turkey and Russia constructive, and for his part, Erdogan expressed a desire to see Putin visit Turkey in the near future. So, Erdogan, which is, again, I'll state it, a NATO member, so Turkey is a NATO member, is going to invite Putin to Turkey. So big news. And the last statement on that meeting is that Vladimir Putin has also expressed his condolences to the Turkish president regarding today's terrorist attack, which we will go into a little bit later in the video. Now let's go into some Russian and North Korean news. That reports suggest that North Korea has sent, apparently, according to Ukrainian sources, fighter pilots to Russia to potentially assist in the Ukraine war amid shortages of Russian pilots, according to NewsSeek. So the South Korean media indicated that North Korean pilots were dispatched to Vladivostok, so the Russian port city of Vladivostok, ahead of group troops deployment. And yesterday, yesterday's video, we had new footage that was published of Korean troops, apparently North Korean troops that arrived in the Russian city of Vladivostok. So you can see here in your bottom left corner, this is apparently North Korean troops, and the video's author actually expressed hope that this war will now end. Now these handsome allies have arrived. So according to the video's author, so very interesting news. The US has information about the arrival of 3,000 North Korean soldiers in Russia, said Kirby at a briefing. So according to him now, the US is apparently now confirming North Korean presence in Russia. So this is very, very big news. So according to Kirby, so the US official, the North Koreans arrived by sea in the port city of Vladivostok and were then sent to various training units in eastern Russia, where they are currently undergoing training. So the US has first just confirmed North Korean presence in Russia's far east in Russia. And we've just gotten news today that I've nearly forgot to talk about, that Russia's State Duma, so if you don't know what the Russian State Duma is, it's the lower house of the Federal Assembly of Russia. So the lower house of the Federal Assembly of Russia has just completed the ratified and the comprehensive strategic partnership agreement between Russia and North Korea. So you can see here in your bottom left corner, the Russia's State Duma has just signed, and it's all been agreed on and has been completed, of the strategic partnership agreement between Russia and North Korea. So relations between the two countries have just been boosted quite a bit. So very big news coming from there. We've also got news coming from the Minister of Finance of Russia that he stated that if the West has started using income from Russia's frozen reserves, Moscow will similarly use the frozen assets of unfriendly companies too. So we can expect in the near future Russia to actually take frozen assets from Western countries and probably use the money to boost its military. Now let's head to Belarus, where we got news coming from the Republic of Belarus that the Russian Defense Minister arrived in Minsk, the capital city of Belarus, to participate in a meeting of the military departments of the Russian Federation and the Republic of Belarus to discuss the security of the Union state, the Russian Ministry of Defense reported. So we can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see the Russian Defense Minister hold meetings between Belarus and obviously Russia. The growing involvement of Western countries in the conflict in Ukraine create global risks, the Russian Defense Minister stated. He said that the desire to inflict maximum damage on Russia could lead to a direct clash of nuclear powers. So, very big news. The Russian Defense Minister also stated that Russia may use nuclear weapons if Belarus is attacked. So the Russian defense minister has confirmed that Russia's state policy allows for the use of nuclear weapons in response to aggression against Belarus, a Union state member. So very big news. We've also got news that Alexander Lukashenko, the president of Belarus, announced that he will run for president in 2025. So I wonder who will win that. And now let's go into the developments in Ukraine. So we've just gotten news that France plans to deliver 3 Mirage 2005 fighter jets to Ukraine early 2025, according to La Tribune, so the news agency. So France plans to deliver 3 Mirage 2000 fighter jets. So very big news. The UK is also going to be donating an additional £120 million towards the Maritime Capability Coalition for Ukraine and is seeking partners to co-fund this delivery of hundreds of more maritime drones, aerial and uncrewed boats, as well as surveillance radars to protect the grain corridor. So the UK is going to be donating an additional £120 million towards Ukraine's maritime capabilities and to try and protect the grain corridor, so through the Black Sea. So very big news. We've also got even bigger news that the EU plans to provide Ukraine with about 18 billion euros in international loans to Kiev, so Ukraine, funded by income from frozen Russian assets, according to the German finance minister, Linda. So very big news. According to the German finance minister, the EU plans to provide Ukraine with 18 billion euros in international loans to Ukraine funded by frozen Russian assets. And we've also got news coming from President Zelensky, where he actually commented on North Korean troops in his evening speech. So you can see here in your bottom left corner, President Zelensky of Ukraine stated that North Korea is preparing to send 2 brigades of 6,000 soldiers to fight against Ukraine, with their training currently underway in Russia. According to the President Zelensky of Ukraine, he called it a challenge, but reassured that Ukraine is ready and knows how to respond to this threat. So very big news. And the last news coming from Ukraine is that 7 countries, according to the news agency Politico, are against Ukraine joining NATO. And obviously you got the first 2 that obviously are very against Ukraine joining NATO, which is Slovakia and Hungary. So both Slovakia and Hungary are against Ukraine joining NATO. We've also got news that countries like the US and Germany, so the 2 countries that are probably the biggest supporters of Ukraine, are apparently against NATO's accession into NATO. So this is according to Politico, the news agency, and Spain, Belgium and Slovenia are also against it. So very big news. So this is coming from the news agency of Politico reports this. So take it with a grain of salt. Now let's go to some Hungarian statements. So we've got news coming from the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. So Viktor Orban has declared the biggest threat of world war in the last 70 years. He accused EU leaders of dragging Europe into a conflict and increasing the risks of widening the war in Ukraine. So Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, stated that, we have not been this close to a war in the last 70 years, Viktor Orban stated. Now let's head to Germany. We've got news that Germany conducted a work week experiment and it has just ended, and the results are quite impressive. So 45 companies offered employees a 4-day work week without a pay cut for 6 months. The short week improved the physical and mental health of employees. Hair analysts and sleep monitoring confirmed this. Productivity increased while the company's revenue and profits remained the same. it has become easier to hire new specialists. So 73% of companies kept the 4-day work week after the experiment ended, and employees no longer want to work on Fridays. So Germany has just conducted a big 4-day work week experiment, and it ended in impressive results. So who knows, this might be the future. There might be a 4-day work week in Germany before we know it. Who knows? Now let's head to the Netherlands. We've got news that billionaire Bill Gates has just been ordered by a Dutch court to stand trial in the Netherlands for allegedly misleading the public about the safety of the COVID-19 vaccines. So, according to the Netherlands, they have ordered Bill Gates to stand at court in a trial in the Netherlands. Due to allegedly misleading the public about the safety COVID-19 vaccines. Now let's head to the terrorist attack, which we touched a little bit about earlier. So there was 2 terrorists that hit the capital city of Turkey. So you can see here, but actually I probably can't actually showcase any of this footage or images, but 2 terrorists allegedly belonging to the PKK, so the Kurdistan Workers' Party, have attacked a factory of the Turkish Aerospace Industries in the capital city of Turkey. So the terrorists used AK-74 rifles and explosives, which can be seen detonating in this video above. So the Turkish authorities have taken this as an attack from Kurdistan. So I can't really show you any of the videos of this. So there was 2 terrorists that went around obviously shooting people at a factory that produced stuff from the Turkish aerospace industries, and there was at least 5 people have died and more, and obviously in critical condition that probably later will die in a tragic events. So very big news, and we've also got news that Turkey has already responded to this attack by hitting Kurdish forces in Iraq, in Syria. So just over the past hour following the PKK terrorist attack in the Turkey's capital, Ankara, the Turkish armed forces started to retaliate the attacks by hitting Syria-based Kurdish positions across the this city here. So according to the reports, the Turkish artillery units fired large salvos against the YPG controlled town of Kobane tonight, according to the local reports. So the Turkish army has just fired on Kurdish positions across the border with Syria. And if you can see here in the bottom left corner, this is one of the results of the Turkish strikes. And we've even gotten even more news of the footage of the Turkish Bayraktar TB2 UAVs and F-16 fighter jets striking Kurdish targets in northern Iraq. So the Turkish Air Force also struck in northern Iraq on the Kurdish positions. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see the Turkish drones, we can see the Turkish F-16s striking the Kurdish targets in northern Iraq and in Syria in a response to the terrorist attack in the capital city of Turkey, which obviously Turkey blames it on, and apparently they have evidence that it was linked to Kurdish forces. So very big news, and Turkey has responded very harsh to this event in the capital. So tensions in the Middle East continue to rise, and the Turkish authorities have raised all threats on all airports in the country with a possible terrorist attacks. So Turkish authorities raised the threat level at all airports in the country in connection with possible terrorist attacks. So big news. Now let's head to the capital city of Lebanon, Beirut. So Israel launched new strikes on the southern suburbs of Beirut. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, there's been more Israeli strikes on the capital of Lebanon, and it has yet again killed a lot more people. We've gotten some statements coming from Qatar. So Qatar stated that the Qatar Airways suspended flights to and from Iraq, Iran, and Lebanon until further notice due to the security situation in the region. Flights to Jordan will only be operated during daylight hours. So Qatar Airways have completely suspended flights from Iraq, Iran, Lebanon, and only Jordan can operate, but only at daylight hours. So very big news. We've also got news that the Saudi Prince Mohammed is currently holding meetings with the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken while the Brics summit was actually happening. So Antony Blinken emphasized the need to end the war in Gaza and to free the hostages and to enable the people of Gaza to rebuild their lives free from Hamas. The Secretary Crown Prince discussed efforts towards a diplomatic resolution in Lebanon and Gaza. So it was about the meeting between the two officials, between the prince and the US official. It was about Lebanon and Gaza and how to resolve the conflict. And now let's talk a little bit about Israel and Gaza. So we got news that the Israeli military says that 20,000 Palestinians have been evacuated from the Jabalia area in northern Gaza Strip. So this exact area, so we're talking about probably like this. So 20,000 Palestinians have been evacuated from this area. The Israeli troops have apparently arrested 150 terrorists, while civilians have evacuated the area, the military, so the IDF stated. So very big news, and Israel starts a mass evacuation in this area. Now let's head to Nigeria, where we've got news that Nigeria approves borrowing $618 million. So Nigeria's cabinet has just approved borrowing about $618 million from a group of financiers to buy 6 Italian-made M346 attack jets and ammunition for the country's air force, the information minister Mohammed said on Wednesday. Earlier this month, the Nigerian Air Force said that it was acquiring 24 M346 combat jets and 10 AW109 Tecker helicopters as part of its fleet renewal strategy. So the first 3 M346 jets, Italian jets, are expected to be delivered by early 2025, and other deliveries heading to mid-2026, the Air Force stated. So in the possible near future, Nigeria will be obtaining 6 Italian-made M346 jets. So very big news. And now let's head to Sri Lanka and India, where we've just gotten news that the Indian intelligence has just alerted the government of Sri Lanka to a potential terror attack on Israelis in the Argam Bay. So this exact village, this exact settlement here in Sri Lanka's coast. So the Indian intelligence stated that the attack was plotted as means of revenge for the recent killings of Hezbollah leaders by Israel, the Daily Mirror reported, citing intelligence information. So 2 suspects involved have already been arrested. So according to the Daily Mirror, the Indian intelligence has informed the government of Sri Lanka of a terrorist attack that was about to happen on this bay here. So very big news, and it seems that it has been avoided. So thanks to Indian intelligence. We've also got news that the Prime Minister Modi and the President of China, Xi Jinping, also held meetings at the sideline at the Brics summit. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, you can see Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping talk with each other, and they both agreed that peace at the border between India and China should be at the top of the list. So very big news. We've also gotten some news coming from the port of South Korea that a huge fire at the US base in South Korea had broken out. So a fire broke out at the US military base in South Korea with dynamic footage showing flames engulfing large buildings as firefighters respond. The cause of the fire at the naval base is still unknown, but it reportedly started at 6:30 p.m. local time on Thursday. So very big news. So a fire happened at a US base in the South Korean port. So very big news. And the final news coming today is coming from America and coming from Florida, where we got news of some SpaceX news. So SpaceX has launched 23 more mini satellites for Starlink company, stated on the social media platform X. So a Falcon 9 rocket lifted off from the 40th complex at the US Space Force Base in Florida. The satellite separation was successful and they reached orbit an hour after launch. So since 2019, SpaceX has launched over 7,000 satellites into orbit, creating a global network to provide internet coverage even in the most remote corners of the world. So thanks to Elon Musk. And that's all the news I actually have for you today. Sorry, I can't go over everything. I'm a bit tight on time right now, but I hope you enjoyed nevertheless. So I am Non-Scene News. I'll try and provide you news that medias around the world do not show you. I do these videos hopefully daily, so consider subscribing and liking. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.